see if a few more people rolled in, but looks like it's going to be Representative Hart and I. So, do want to ask people to silence their cell phones, and we'll go ahead and call the roll to the first meeting of the Budget Review Subcommittee on General Government.
Representative Watkins, Representative Bowling, Representative Bray, Representative Petrie, Representative Flannery, Representative Hale, Representative Hart,
Here.
and Chair Freeland.
Present. All right, thank you. There's no minutes from last meeting. This is the first one, so we'll go ahead and get started. And we will kind of go a little bit out of order. Mr. Schroeder was kind enough to insist that some of the other members go first, so we'll do that. And I believe our Auditor of Public Accounts, Ms. Allison Ball, is here, so we'll go ahead and let you get started. And we'll give each one around 15 minutes but we'll let you begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Allison Ball. I am the auditor, the Kentucky State Auditor. I have with me my Chief of Staff, Lauren Ferguson, and I have my General Counsel, Alex McGarrah, here as well. This is really a preview of what we're going to be asking for the next budget cycle. So there will be more information to come. This is just a short overview, just so that you have some direction as you're beginning to formulate what you want to do. Just by way of background, I want to tell you what we have done in the office in 2024 and what we are currently working on, and that will give you a good picture as we move into those next 2 years, the next biennial budget. There will be a lot of similarities to what we've done and what we will be doing. So in 2024, we released 457 audits. Of those, 424 were county audits. That includes fiscal courts, county sheriffs, clerk's offices. It did include county attorneys, some of them, not all of them, and PVAs, again, some of them, not all of them, just because that's the structure that we've worked with those two entities. We did 29 state audits and reviews. That is OSGAT and ACFR and SWAC. Those are the statewide single audit of the Commonwealth of Kentucky and the annual comprehensive financial reports. That reviews essentially the executive branch, as well as some other entities in state government. So that occurs by statute every year. The county audits, most of them also do occur by statute every year with regularity. We do contract out quite a bit of them, and we do as many in-house as we can. We always want to do more. It's just always a matter of the amount of staff we have available and resources. But we believe that we have good pricing for doing it, and we have the highest level of professionalism in the work that we do. We also have done 4 special exams last year. One of them got a lot of news, and I know you're aware of it. That was the Department of Juvenile Justice Performance Review, and that revealed a lot of very worrying conditions and treatments of juveniles in our DJJ facilities. That has resulted in a federal investigation to review civil rights abuses. There's actually several lawsuits that are ongoing right now. So that was a first step in revealing a lot of problems that need to be addressed. We also did the city of Elkhorn, Elkhorn City in Pike County. That was a pretty big, extensive, problematic issue that resulted in a lot of things that need to be fixed in that particular city. City of Columbia and the Camp Dick Fire and Rescue. I'm a big believer in doing models, finding an entity and using that as an example for the rest of the state. It's a great way to manage resources. The Camp Dick Fire and Rescue is one that we can point to for fire departments to make sure they're doing the right thing. It's sort of a best practice. If you're doing these things and we found that they're wrong, don't continue to do these things. Same with the cities. The 2025 audit reports, the ones that have already been released, we have 40 county audits that have already been released this year. It's only February, so we're off to a good start. We have done 10 state audits. And as far as special exams go, we actually have 2 significant ones that have come out already. One of them was the Salyersville Water Works. And again, I'm a big believer in finding something that you can use as a model throughout the rest of the state. The Salyersville Water Works is a perfect example of that. I've already had different water districts and water works entities that have come up to me and said, I'm learning from this, and we're going to make sure we're not doing these things. It's worth an analysis on its own, and I'm not going to go into it today because it's not the place for it, but it's a good model. The School Facilities Assistance Fund, which was required last year by statute or by bill, that has just been released and is now over to the General Assembly to determine what they want to do with that information. We have many still in progress. We have our SWAC for this year in progress. That's to be released February and March, and the ACFR also to be released early this year. We have several special examinations. One of them is one that was directed by me because of an issue that came to light the summer of last year, and that was the kinship care funding issue. The General Assembly passed a bill to require more time to allow for people who are taking care of relatives, if they're either kin, actual kin, or they're fictive kin, to care for children who would otherwise be foster children in the foster system. So they could have the same resources that foster parents have for their foster children. There was a dispute with the governor's office over how much money that would cost. Governor did sign the bill, and after the bill was signed, gave it a $20 million price tag. And we began to hear different contradictory pieces of information about it. So we initiated an audit of that particular situation. There's 55,000 children in Kentucky, so it impacts a big number of children. And we're currently reviewing that right now to determine what money is available, or if there needs to be more money appropriated. So, we're not predetermining what the outcome is. We're reviewing the books and figuring out what's available. And I'm hopeful it's going to be released very soon. Hopefully before the end of session, so you all have the information that you need if you need to do anything. We also have the Kentucky Department of Education. Again, that was a statutory bill, but one we were very happy to do. It needs to be released this July. That's going to be a very significant audit, very extensive, that we're doing, both contracting out for some expertise as well as some of the work in-house. And then the Jefferson County Public School District is also ongoing right now, and that one's going to be released next year. That's the first time that's been done in over a decade. So those are important things that are ongoing. Some of them will continue into next year. So that gives you an idea. That's the kind of work that we want to continue doing. The budget as it exists right now is allowing us to do that work. We will be making some additional requests and changes in how it was done. One thing that we've identified in particular is the appropriation that we get in our budget. We would ask that it matches the amount of the restricted funding. So we've had a conflict in the numbers on that, and that's something I think that you all need to be aware of as we move into the next biennium, to allow for more consistency in those two numbers, so we don't have an issue with that. We are going to be making an ask next year, and I think this is going to be a big one. Many people are watching what's happening in D.C. right now with DOGE and the amount of waste that's been identified, and I'm getting a lot of asks of, can you do that in Kentucky? And I have said, well, since I heard of DOGE, I have described our office as the Kentucky version of DOGE, and I believe that we have a lot of the powers to enable us to do that kind of work, because our primary goal is waste, fraud, and abuse, and that's what we look for, waste, fraud, and abuse. We also look for compliance with the law. So we have these powers, but we are always restricted by the amount of resources we have. One thing that was previously a cornerstone of our office, actually Auditor Crit Llewellyn made great use of this, was the Office of Performance Audits. And just because of a redirection of how to use the office, that is no longer a part of the office. And we believe that would be very, very helpful in order to be able to do specific performance audits to review efficiency. Is it effective? Is it economical? Questions that are being asked in Washington, D.C. right now. That particular division, and we have numbers which we can go over. We have a bare minimum number right now. Of course, I want it to be as robust as possible to be able to really dig in quickly. But that is going to be an ask that we're going to be doing differently in our next budget request. I believe that's a good overview for this point. We'll have more information, but that is the structure of what we're going to be asking for as we come closer to that.
All right, sounds good. And for anyone watching on KT and the public that would like to see any of these reports, what's a good website for them?
That's a good question. So these are actually mostly my notes. We have some of this information available. Like, for example, last year, all of the audits we've released are on there. They're available. I'm not sure there is a summary of everything we did last year, so you could review the summary. The work that's ongoing this year is not available in summary form yet. It probably won't be until the end of next year. And performance audits, we'll have a more formal request on that one as the time gets closer, unless there's an interest in doing it this year, in which case we would be ready to begin that work sooner.
All right. Representative Hart, do you have any questions? Or?
No, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. All right, next, I believe I saw our Secretary of State, Michael Adams. Sorry, there he is, right there. All right. We'll let you present in just kind of the same 15 minutes or so if that's okay.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Secretary of State Michael Adams. This is my Deputy Secretary, Jennifer Scutchfield, and I'm grateful for the chance to update you on the functions of our office. This is normally the time that agencies ask for more money, and that's appropriate, but I'm not going to do that. From the first fiscal year starting during my tenure, I've asked that you not appropriate tax dollars to my office, and you've accommodated. The Secretary of State's office is self-sustaining through modest fee revenue such as the $15 annual fee to file a business report. We think that supervising elections that are seen as among the best in the country at no cost to the taxpayers is a darn good deal. All I would ask is that after 5 years of our proven fiscal conservatism and solid management, you permit us more access to and more flexibility with the funds we raise. At my request, you and other legislators came together 2 years ago to pass, unanimously, the Safe at Home Act, which expands Kentucky's address confidentiality program. This act improved upon that prior program in 3 critical ways. 1, it made the address confidentiality process reciprocal with other states. 2, it obviated the need for a survivor of domestic violence, sexual assault, or human trafficking to first get a protective order from a judge. And 3, it shielded the addresses of survivors not just on the voter rolls, but on all state and local public records. In October, we contracted with a company that scrubs personally identifying information off the internet. Our program participants have seen 20,000 items of personally identifying information taken off the internet in just 4 months. This program costs survivors and taxpayers nothing. It is funded by fines paid by the bad guys convicted of these offenses. We've seen a 500% increase in participation since we bolstered the Safe at Home program. I'm committed not just to shielding our most vulnerable from abuse, but also to shielding taxpayers from the cost of this program. I joined the bipartisan consensus in our capital toward reducing taxes, and I'm glad to have done my part to help make that possible. For that reason, I simply ask that when you devise the 2026 to 2028 biennial budget, the last budget during my term of office, that you increase the amount of our own revenues that we may access so that we may continue to provide these needed services free of charge. Given the unfortunate statistics of commission of these crimes in the Commonwealth, we believe we are still barely scratching the surface of affected populations, and that participation in our program will grow significantly the next few years. We ask that you let us serve this population without disserving taxpayers. While I request no taxpayer dollars from my office, I would encourage you to adjust for inflation the election funding you provide our counties. Last year, this body voted 89-0 to do just that. Current state law allocates each county 50 cents per registered voter per year and $255 per precinct per election. Unfortunately, these numbers were set in the 1980s when we were all playing Pac-Man. There's been a ton of inflation the past 4 years, let alone the past 40 years. I hope you'll pass such legislation again, and at this time the Senate will concur. Thanks again for the opportunity to visit with you, and I welcome any questions.
Well, thank you so much. Representative Hart, do you have anything?
Not really, but based on your testimony, the program that you were talking about, it's for the most part kind of self-funding, is it not?
Not really. So our office is self-funding in that we used to raise our own revenue, and then you all would appropriate us tax dollars, and then you would sweep us. And it kind of made no sense. And yeah. You all improved that significantly by just saying, we're not going to send you money and then take it back. We're just going to let you run your office. But the Safe at Home program only gives us about $3,000 a year in revenue, and that's about 10% of what it costs to operate it.
Okay.
And that program is going to grow. So there's a few ways to fix that. One would be to raise the fines on the bad guys that get convicted of these offenses. One would give us a larger proportionate share of those fines. I think we get 15% of it. But then we're in competition with other offices and other worthy programs, right? The third option, which is what I'm suggesting, obviously you can choose, but the third option is just to let us use more of our own money. So right now we're eating 90% of the cost, and I'm fine with that, as long as we're not bumping up against an arbitrary number of how much of our own money we can spend. So we're taking in $11 million a year, but we're authorized to spend less than $7 million. If we can just access our own money, we can pay the cost of this program without trying to take fee revenue away from the AG or any other agency.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the clarification.
Yes, sir.
So you'd be able to essentially expand the program too with additional funding.
And I want to reiterate, I think it's really important that the bad guys pay the costs of their damage they do to our society and the harm they do to these victims. And if you all want to raise those fines, I'd be fully in support of that. But I also know that there's only so much blood that you can squeeze from that turnip, right? A lot of these people don't have resources and can't pay big fines. So the question is, are we going to get a bigger share of that chunk of money? And I don't happen to know offhand where else the money goes from that fund. We get a small portion of it. And then if we're taking money from some other recipient, are we hurting shelters? Are we hurting law enforcement? I don't want to do that either. So I think the best solution is just for you all to authorize us to access more of the money that we take in on an annual basis. And to put this into some perspective, we've seen a big increase in this program, but it just scratches the surface of what I think the population really is that's being harmed by these types of offenses. And so the more this program catches on, the more awareness that we raise, the more trainings we do and so forth, it's going to get bigger. And so we do have to have more money. But I don't want tax dollars to pay for this. We can pay for it ourselves if we can just access the money that we take in.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Anything else? Okay. Appreciate the
Thank you.
presentation.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And I see our state treasurer, Mr. Metcalf. I'll let you and we're not sure who that guy is with you. You might have to introduce your.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, I'm
I was
sorry.
going to say you might have to introduce the stranger here with you.
I intend to. This nice man sitting to my right is Russell Weber, who brought honor and distinction upon this chamber and is bringing honor and distinction upon the Treasurer's office. And we are lucky to have him. Your loss was our gain, and that gain has been, as I would like to put it, without sounding over the top, has been essential to our success in our first year.
Well, thank you for being here. I'll go ahead and let you proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Friedland and distinguished committee members. It's an honor and a pleasure to be before you today. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. I'm Mark Metcalf, your state treasurer. It's an honor to join you to discuss the work we've been doing at the Treasury and how we can continue to be strong partners with this esteemed body. First and foremost, I want to express my deep appreciation to the General Assembly for your steadfast commitment to fiscal discipline, prudent financial stewardship, and reducing the tax burden on Kentuckians. Your leadership has cemented a path to stabilize our state's economic future, which has provided a meaningful and substantial relief for families and businesses alike. By lowering taxes and addressing the state's debt, you have laid the groundwork for a more promising and prosperous Commonwealth. At the Treasury, our mission is simple, but it is also essential. It is to protect and manage the hard-earned dollars of Kentuckians. Thanks to your support and collaborative efforts, we've made meaningful progress in delivering value to taxpayers. One of our most impactful initiatives, and one that we're deeply proud of, has been reuniting Kentuckians with their lost or forgotten assets through the Unclaimed Property Fund. In the first year of our administration, we returned to Kentuckians $35.5 million, a record-breaking amount, and we're not slowing down. In the first month of this year, we've already returned $3.8 million to families and businesses. These returns represent life-changing moments, such as helping a single mother recover $14,000 in past due child support and assisting an elderly gentleman who couldn't pay his electric bill with $380,000 from the fund. We've also helped Kentucky businesses and local governments reclaim their rightful assets and recover lost tax revenue. But our responsibility to Kentucky doesn't stop at managing funds or returning assets. We also invest wisely to generate revenue for the Commonwealth. As chair of the State Investments Commission, I'm proud to report that our investment strategy yielded $682 million in returns last year. These gains fortify Kentucky's fiscal health and help reduce taxpayer burdens while enabling investments in essential services for Kentuckians. Another key area where we've seen success is financial literacy. Through the Kentucky Financial Empowerment Commission, which I also serve as chair, we are equipping Kentuckians from students to seniors with the tools they need to achieve financial security. We have implemented programs like student-operated bank branches and credit unions in high schools, which are providing young Kentuckians with hands-on financial experience that will benefit them throughout their lives. We've also expanded many other financial literacy initiatives, and we've done so by entering community centers, churches, and even county jails, because we understand that financially empowered citizens strengthen their communities and contribute to the growth of our Commonwealth. Additionally, as a member of the Kentucky Opioid Abatement Advisory Commission, we are leveraging the Treasury's financial expertise in the fight against the opioid crisis. I refer specifically in suggesting to the Commission that money that was being held on account for the settlement be invested through the Treasurer's office with our Office of Financial Management. Those accounts, those settlement accounts, are now yielding as much as $200,000 a month. This helps us extend the fight against opioid addiction. It's maximizing our resources for prevention, treatment, and recovery efforts across the Commonwealth. Your commitment to addressing this crisis has been invaluable, and we are proud to support these efforts alongside our partners in the General Assembly. Finally, as we chart Kentucky's economic future, protecting foundational industries remains critical to our efforts. The Treasury stands firm in defending our native coal and natural gas industries against discriminatory investment practices and hostile regulations. These industries have powered Kentucky for generations, and we are committed to ensuring they continue to do so. For Kentucky to be economically healthy, affordable, and abundant energy is imperative for our families and for our businesses alike. In closing, I want to once again express my sincere gratitude to each of you for your leadership, your service, and your unwavering dedication. The Treasury stands ready as a resource and an ally to serve you. I am confident that we will continue our strong partnership, and I trust this august body will ensure the Treasury has the necessary resources to sustain our momentum. With your support, we can expand our efforts to safeguard taxpayer dollars, return more unclaimed property, invest wisely those taxpayer dollars, and further strengthen Kentucky's financial future. Together, we can continue building a stronger, more prosperous Commonwealth for the people we are all so privileged to serve. Thank you again for your time and the opportunity to share our work with you. I'm glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, and I appreciate the presentation. I did have one question. I know on the unclaimed property, I actually went on there and I have some on there, so I was happy to see that. Is there actually a physical location where this? I know we're talking about funds, but are there like gold bars or personal property?
Thank you for asking.
Where is that stored?
Great question.
Not exact location.
We actually have bullion, and we store it in the vault.
Okay.
We receive from safe deposit boxes on a weekly basis.
Is there enough room?
Yes, we have a vault. It is secure. We receive envelopes from banks nearly every day. Sometimes we find stock certificates. Sometimes we find cash, and other times we find bullion. In this case, we are the repository for that bullion. We are actively trying to find its owner or owners and pay that to them as soon as we can identify them. We have concerted efforts to return Kentuckians' money to Kentuckians. And give you an example, $35.5 million returned last year is a record amount. We expect with the technological changes we're adopting and through the work of good contractors who understand their jobs, we'll be able to match that money and hopefully exceed it in the present calendar year. The money that we take control over is invested through the Office of Financial Management, and you see those kinds of returns spelled out through the money that we have earned on investments such as risk-free investments in U.S. Treasuries. We also have safe investments that are managed through the Office of Financial Management as well. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding that.
Representative Hart, do you have any questions?
No, thank you all so much for coming, and I appreciate your testimony.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Hey, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if we have a moment, I wanted to piggyback on a question that I think you asked regarding the vault. And we are approaching capacity on that vault, and one of the things that we will be coming forward with you is a plan for expansion of that vault in the next budget. So there may be a request for funding to lead to that expansion.
Okay.
Our holders are doing a great job of reporting, and with that comes the use of the current vault. So
Sure. Okay.
thank you.
That was just that whole unclaimed property is interesting. I encourage people to get on the site and just it's pretty easy to access too.
Let me add, Mr. Chairman, so that you understand the full an answer that expands on my earlier answer. In the beginning of the not fiscal year, but calendar year 2024, $803 in unclaimed property. And after paying all of our expenses, the amount on January 1st of this year, $884 million. We will be exceeding $1 billion in about a year and a half. You will see, we hope, that money is just as well managed and that more returns are sent back to Kentuckians from that money.
Well, thank you so much.
It's an honor. Thank you.
Appreciate it. And last but not least, our good friend from the Attorney General's office, Mr. Will Schroeder, will be presenting. He's the senior counsel for the AG's office, and thank you for allowing some of the other members to you insisted they go in front of you. So
Of course.
thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman Freeland, Representative Hart. As mentioned, I'm Will Schroeder, Senior Counsel for Attorney General Russell Coleman. On behalf of the office, we appreciate the opportunity to give you an update on the office's budget a little over a year since Attorney General was sworn into office. First, I'd like to lay out the mission of the office: to safeguard Kentucky families, support prosecutors, protect consumers and seniors, stand with law enforcement, and to uphold the rule of law. Attorney General Coleman has established a culture of zealous collaboration and directed us to go the extra mile for our partners, including members of the General Assembly, elected leaders throughout the Commonwealth, and the men and women of law enforcement who keep us safe. We obviously can't achieve these goals without the financial resources necessary to run one of Kentucky's biggest and best law firms. And we appreciate the leadership of the General Assembly to help us achieve this mission. Now, last session, the Attorney General came to the General Assembly with an ask. The ask was to give us the financial resources to make our office more competitive. The office's salaries were significantly below other cabinets in state government and that were paying for the same position and qualifications. As a result, we were losing talented colleagues. We heard from attorneys who were leaving that loved their job, but said that at some point they had to consider what the significant raises would mean for their families if they left. Salaries for non-attorneys were behind as well. And unfortunately, the office was also not competitive with state and local law enforcement agencies. And most employees at the Office of the Attorney General ranked in the bottom fourth of salaries in their classifications. We asked and you delivered. As a result of the resources invested in last session's House Bill 6, I can report that the Office of the Attorney General has made significant progress in recruitment and retention. This past August, the majority of merit staff received salary increases. The three primary categories, staff attorneys, investigators, and administrative staff, were increased to, at, or near midpoint. The average salary for administrative staff went up $8,000. The average salary for our investigators went up $9,000, and the average salary for staff attorneys went up $17,000. It's true that most of our colleagues could still be earning more working in the private sector, but as a result of these raises, we are now more competitive with other public jobs and can keep more of the talented men and women working at the office. As you know, public service is a calling, and you've made it easier for dedicated Kentuckians to answer that call. In last session's budget, the General Assembly asked the Office of the Attorney General to stand up the Body Armor Grant Program. This is a program that allows police agencies to apply for body armor at no cost to the individual officers or agencies. At this time last year, approximately 20% of law enforcement either didn't have a vest or was wearing an expired one. Our office's mission is to reduce that number to zero. Once that is accomplished, we will start processing applications for other armor enhancements such as helmets, plates, carriers, and shields. The program went live in the Attorney General's office this past July, and since that time has seen 1,121 Kentucky law enforcement professionals that have been approved for new body armor. Approximately 50% of these have already been delivered, and the rest are pending. We have applications from every region in the state and are in the process of contacting all law enforcement agencies in the state to verify additional needs for soft armor. This program not only takes the strain off of local government's budgets, but it also protects the men and women who protect us. Last year's budget gave the office the necessary resources to push back on the Biden administration's radical green agenda. As Attorney General Coleman said, Kentucky's low-cost energy is central to the Commonwealth's competitive advantage in attracting business investment. Our electric reliability is essential from everything from attracting new businesses to keeping the lights on when we flip the switch. Our office worked with allied attorney generals from across the country to take the fight to the Biden administration, and with your support, we won. We beat back an EV mandate, forced the federal government to walk back nonsensical business reporting requirements, and we've taken the fight all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. And now, while the Biden administration is obviously out, we are already seeing some states try to pick up where the Biden administration left off when it comes to attacking energy. Just this month, Kentucky joined West Virginia and 17 other states in suing the state of New York. In 2024, New York passed a statute to create a state climate change superfund law. It was an effort to attack traditional American energy sources, and the law retroactively imposes a total of $75 billion in levies on any coal, natural gas, or oil producer who emitted a minimum level of greenhouse gases since 2000. The fight is far from over. The General Assembly's investment has allowed our office to hire staff, work with experts, and most importantly, protect energy reliability for Kentucky families. With the money allocated in last session's budget to address child exploitation, the AG's Department of Criminal Investigation Special Victims Unit has been able to make some additional hires that will protect Kentucky's most vulnerable population. The office hired a criminal intelligence analyst, someone who completes the full intelligence workup on suspects, a detective, and a computer forensic examiner who does complete forensic examinations on digital evidence. You think cell phones, laptops, computers, etc., submitted to our lab by law enforcement throughout the state. In addition to these 3 specialized hires, the office purchased computer hardware vital to the digital forensics lab. With the remaining funds, the office plans to hire 2 additional computer forensic examiners and at least 1 more special victims unit detective in 2025. In the past legislation, you gave the Office of the Attorney General the responsibility of child support, administrative hearings, and data privacy. Administrative hearings came over in July of last year and has been up and running. Our child support team has been visiting county attorneys across the Commonwealth and working with the Cabinet for a smooth transition set for July of this year. And finally, we were tasked with the Office of Data Privacy that will go live in January 2026. Our team has reached out to other Attorney General's offices that have data privacy departments and are working to ensure that we are prepared for this important task. Mr. Chair and members, as mentioned in my introduction, one of the missions of Attorney General Coleman is zealous collaboration, the importance of working together to achieve our mission and make the Commonwealth better. And in that spirit, we thank you today for working with us to help us accomplish what we've been able to do to protect this great Commonwealth and to reiterate that our doors are always open.
All right. Well, we certainly appreciate the job you and the AG and everyone in your office is doing.
Thank you.
Representative Hart, do you got anything?
No real question, just a real good comment. I mean, Mr. Schroeder there, you've been lucky enough to see me in 2 committees this week, and so it's always glad to have you in front of us. We miss you over in the Senate, and it's always great to have you back over on this side. So
Thank you. It's always
thanks
good
for
to
coming
see
back.
you guys.
It's always good to see you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. If there's no other comments or anything else on your mind, we'll let you go. And
It's plenty on my mind, but
Yeah.
I don't know that.
only so much market I can
I only
do.
have 5 more
only
minutes.
so
I
much
don't
you
have no
guys
time.
over here.
We can
Got
agree
it.
to it, but
We
I don't know
appreciate
how far
it.
that goes.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Well, that will do it for this meeting. If we've got a motion to adjourn, I'll second it. So, since there's 2 of us, but we appreciate everyone for attending today. And before we go, I do want to thank my mayor from home is here, Rita Dotson, and my friend Elena Blevins from our tourism department in our county. So, I doubt it. And I appreciate them visiting, though. So we'll go ahead and adjourn and until next meeting. Thank you.